Well, today I want you to think about a really good book that you've read, like a really good one, the kind that you don't want to put down, where the characters become part of your life. You want to know how they're doing and you sacrifice sleep to find out what's going to happen next. Now, I wanted to ask you this. Would you have wanted to read the author's very first version of that book? You know, before it went through the editing process, before they took the time to refine it, to make sure all the characters were fully developed? Chances are, I mean, depending on the author, probably not, right? We are grateful for the editing process that both the author and the editors went through to make sure that by the time the book went to print and it got into our hands, that it was the best version of that book that it could be. We appreciate that process, but we don't always have that same patience with ourselves when we're simplifying our house. And so today I want to talk about a different approach to take to simplifying your home, especially if you're feeling a little uninspired, a little stuck, like you don't know what to do next. Let's talk about how we can edit our space. It's the same process I just went through with our TV room, but how you can use these same principles to make every area of your house a space that you enjoy and you love and that you're truly excited to come home to. Well, hi, I'm Dawn, and it's so good to see you today, and I'm really excited to share this idea of editing with you because I know what it's like to want my whole house simplified now. Like, I'm convinced of the benefits, and I just want the heavy lifting and the hard work to be done so I can start enjoying the benefits. And so I've been there. I've gotten to the point of feeling frustrated, like I was doing all this work and nothing was happening. I felt like, would somebody please just come in and do it for me, and then I promise I'll keep it clean from there and I'll keep it simplified and organized, and ultimately just wishing that it were done so that I could start enjoying the benefits of it. So I've definitely been there, but what I've learned through the process is that if I can look at it just a little bit differently, that some of that frustration starts to fall away. And so that's where this idea of editing comes in, where we acknowledge that none of us have a 4-year degree in home simplifying or in minimal living or in simple living, that most of us weren't taught these principles as we were growing up, that basically we're all in the same boat of taking bits and pieces of ideas that have worked for other people and then fitting them to our home and our lifestyle in the age range of our kids and the different kinds of people that live in our house. And so it's not a perfect process. And that's what I love about this idea of editing, is from the get-go, it is acknowledging that there's going to be changes made. Like I said in the beginning, when a book is written, the author doesn't write their first copy of the book and then say, oh, I'm so glad that I'm done with this, I've arrived, and send it off to the publisher. No, it goes through, I mean, months and months of editing, right? Of making changes to it and making improvements to it and taking out pieces and adding other things back in. And so I want to show you the case study of our TV room and 3 steps that you can take. So step number 1 is to decide what is the purpose of this space and what is the function. So when we're selling real estate and we're helping people to stage their house to sell, we tell them that every room in your house should only have one purpose. And so the main purpose of this room is for the kids to watch TV, or they also might come in here just to have some quiet time because usually all the playing activity goes on in the other living space that we have. So this is kind of a quiet room. And so they might just come in here to play by themselves or to read a book or to watch the TV. The other thing that happens in this room is the piano is in here. So the girls practice piano in here. And we've also decided to move our toy bins in here. So this room is also for toy storage. But the primary function of this room is for either watching TV or relaxing, a space to do something on your own. The other purposes are sub-purposes. So I don't want those purposes to detract from the main purpose of this room. So speaking of toy storage, many of you have asked, this toy storage is from IKEA. I don't know if they carry it in black anymore, but I don't want the toy storage to override the other purposes of this. We all know what it feels like to have lots of toys in a room, to have it feel chaotic. The kids don't play well, it doesn't feel good, it's not relaxing. This room would not be a relaxing place to be if we had lots of toys, if they were spilling outside of their toy organization. So I have a whole video series on simplifying your kids' toys, but my biggest encouragement to you is that you can't do it wrong, that basically you could keep just enough toys to fit in some kind of toy storage system. You could simplify them down to 1 or 2 bins that you keep in a room, but basically I hope you'll find that as you simplify your kids' toys that they actually play better. So check out that whole other series on kids' toys to have all of your questions answered, which toys to keep and all of that kind of stuff. So the second step to editing a space, once we've defined the purpose, is to decide how do we want that space to feel. So for this room, I wanted it to feel cozy. I wanted it to feel a place like you could snuggle up with a blanket and watch a show or read a book, and that it was just a place where you could relax, let your guard down, and just have a little bit of time to yourself. So I wanted it to feel cozy and calm. I wanted it to just feel kind of peaceful and relaxing. So that's what was in the back of my mind then, as we got to the third step of actually editing the space. So if the primary function of this room is to watch TV or to have a quiet place to relax, I wanted it to feel cozy and calm. Then what I did was I looked around at the things that were in the room and I asked myself if they were adding to that or if they were taking away from it. And so the reason I haven't really shared this room much, we don't talk about it often, is I felt like it had just become kind of a catch-all. It was just kind of random furniture that whatever didn't fit in the other rooms ended up in this room. It had the TV in it, which isn't really very attractive. You know, the toy bins, they're functional, but I wouldn't call them like super cool looking. And so it just became this mishmash of furniture and like the curtains on the wall. I just ordered them when we first moved in because we just needed curtains, and the blue was the best color at the time, but if I had it to do again, I wouldn't order those same colors. And so there really wasn't anything intentional when we created this space. And I'm sure you have spaces like that in your house as well, where it's just kind of, it just comes together with pieces you have or that you've, you know, gotten on sale or clearance. And I mean, we did it when we first moved into our house 3 years ago, so we didn't fully understand even how this room was gonna function or the different things that would go on in here. So it's okay, right? It's okay if we end up with a space that doesn't reflect our style, doesn't really serve its purpose, well, maybe has stuff in it that it shouldn't. It's okay. It happens to all of us. And so that's where this idea of editing is. We can look at a space like this now and say, that's okay, it happens. But moving forward, how would I like this space to feel or to look? And so I decided that we have a lot of color in the other areas of our house, so I would be okay with this having a more muted, more neutral palette. I also knew, like I said, that the TV and the toy boxes and the piano would be staying in here, and those are all black. And so I thought, you know what, why don't we just kind of go with the black and white and gray theme for this room. The other thing was that I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it. That was part of the reason how it came together was just not wanting to spend money on stuff. Oh, I also knew that Tom's ugly recliner would be staying in here. We're getting to a spot where I think it might go sometime, but regardless, for now it was staying in here. So once I knew kind of the color direction that I went from, you can draw that from pillows or from curtains or some other, maybe a painting, something that inspires you, then it was actually pretty easy. I went to Walmart and I found these curtains, which are gray and cream, which I really like. They were only $10 a panel, and I actually had 2 of them in my office already. So I moved those over here and then put the blue curtains in my office. So that worked out really well. So I only had to buy 2 new curtain panels. So those were $10 each. And then I also saw these pillows at Walmart that matched perfectly and also go with our cream colored couch. So it started kind of coming together, which was really fun. And then we also had this grate. It's from a building on our farm that we were in the process of taking down. And so I had saved it last year, not knowing exactly what I would do with it. But as I thought about this space more and I wanted to just feel kind of calm, relaxing, I'm like, yeah, a little like earthy feeling. I'm not really super great with house plants yet, but I would like to introduce some more greens. So I'll start with fake greens and then I'll try and add in some more living plants. And so then I decided to put some succulents and some moss in the grate. It's not done yet because I didn't have enough succulents, so I just ordered some more off of Amazon and I'm excited to get those, but it'll be in tomorrow. So I'll update you then how it turns out. But we had kind of like a collage of stuff over here before, which was fine. Again, I was just, at the time, I was using stuff we had. I didn't want to spend money on it. And so it was fine. It really was okay. But as I thought more about how I wanted this room to feel and function, I was like, ooh, we do have this. And so then that started to come together. Now I will tell you this, only probably about 50% of the time do my design ideas actually physically come together how I imagine them in my mind. I mean, when we were doing our kitchen, I was really not sure about putting color on the lower cabinets. I love color, but I still don't always trust myself to be able to execute it properly. But again, that's where being okay with making mistakes. I mean, I'd kind of decided on this. I'm like, well, if the succulents and stuff look dumb, then maybe I'll just make it like a magnetic spot for the kids to put their artwork, or we'll clip some family pictures on it. Or worst case, I'll just take it down and I'll put something else there. And so I really had to start, you know, in my mind saying, I didn't go to school for interior design. I try and get tidbits, you know, from things I watch on TV or on Instagram. But again, my space is totally different than anybody else's space. So it never works out exactly the same. And now I'm okay with that. I'm okay if I'm gonna make edits to it and make changes to it. And the same thing with the simplifying process. You know, the good thing is that as you keep going down the road of simplifying your house, you do become more confident. My sister, she said, she's like, Dawn, you need to tell people it's 2 phases. You have the first phase where you're kind of unsure about things, but you're getting rid of things that you're fairly certain you don't need. And you kind of get through that phase, but she's like, and then you get to phase 2, and then you're really confident in yourself. Then you go crazy. You just want your house like so simplified because it's so easy to keep clean and to manage, and it's just so peaceful. And so I'm like, I think you're exactly right. But what did she do? She went through an editing process. She was editing her house. She was kind of looking at stuff and saying, does this add value to my house? Does this section add value to the book? Does it, you know, define the character more? Is it in line with how they would act? Does this add value to our family? Or does it not? Should this get thrown on the cutting room floor? And I think if we can take that approach to our house of, we don't have to be perfect, there are gonna be changes. We might like the succulent wall, we might think it looks dumb, but you know what? We're never gonna know unless we do it. And so I hope that's encouraging to, I know it's not always easy. I know we're still gonna run into things that stump us and that can be kind of difficult, but if we can say, you know what? Stuff is so easy to come by. I could have gone to 10 different stores and found 10 different sets of curtains and 10 different pillows, and they probably all would have looked good in here. I could have found different plants to put in the wall, or I could have hung pictures on it, and it probably would have looked good too. And so we don't have to be perfect at this process. The most important thing is to just keep moving forward, because we're never gonna know how peaceful our house could be or how enjoyable it could be to be here unless we just do it. But you know what? I don't miss any of the stuff we've gotten rid of. I've shared this before. Life is just not about stuff. I love this room. I love how it turned out. After 3 years of living in our house, it finally feels like it reflects us, and I like the style of it. But again, the most important thing is the people that fill this room. That's the most important thing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribe so that we can keep in touch. Coming up on Saturday on our vlog, I'll show you how I hung this. It actually weighs like 50 pounds, and Tom wasn't home, but I was like determined to get it up on that wall myself. And so I'll show you a little bit more how we actually created it. I'm sure Tom will have something to say about it too. But I hope you subscribe so that we keep in touch and you're notified when new videos are released. A thumbs up is the best compliment that you can give us, and I'll look forward to visiting with you again soon.